Level 1. The warning signs. You're tired. Not the tired that sleep fixes, the other kind. The tired that's there when you wake up, that sits in your chest by 11 a.m., that makes the idea of a social plan feel like a physical weight. But you're functioning. You're showing up. Your output is fine. So it's probably nothing. Here's what's actually happening. Your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the system that manages your stress response, has been running in low-level activation for weeks, maybe months. Every unfinished task, every overbooked calendar slot, every notification you answered after 10 p.m. sent a small cortisol signal up your brainstem. Individually, those signals are normal. That's what cortisol is for. It's not the enemy. A healthy morning cortisol spike is what gets you out of bed. But your system was built for threats that end. A predator, a storm, a fight. Not a job that emails you at midnight. Not a life where the threat never actually resolves. So the alarm has been running, quietly, persistently, and you've adapted to it so well that you've stopped noticing it's on. The warning sign isn't dramatic. It's subtle. Things that used to feel interesting feel like tasks. You're more impatient than you used to be, short with people you love, irritated by things that shouldn't land. You reach for your phone when you sit still. Not because you want to, because stillness has started to feel like something you have to escape. You think you need a holiday. You might, but that's not the diagnosis. That's the symptom. Level 2, the grind phase. You know something is off. So you do the logical thing. You work harder. You reorganize your schedule. You get up earlier. You start a productivity system. Color-coded, meticulous, satisfying. For about 4 days. You tell yourself you just need to get through this period, and then things will ease off. And then you'll finally feel like yourself again. This is the most dangerous phase. Not because you're failing, because you're succeeding by every external measure. Your output goes up. You're delivering. People are impressed. Inside your brain, something different is happening. Sustained high cortisol has started to suppress the prefrontal cortex, the region that handles focus, decision-making, empathy, and long-term thinking. It's not that you become stupid. It's more like a dimmer switch being slowly turned down. Your thinking becomes less creative. Your decisions become more reactive. You start solving today's fire instead of building tomorrow's system. The Mesolimbic dopamine system, the circuitry behind motivation, curiosity, and reward, has begun to downregulate. The work that used to feel energizing now just feels like maintenance. You're putting more effort in and getting less satisfaction out. You notice this, but you interpret it as a character flaw. You just need to push harder. You are now in a feedback loop that only goes one direction. Doctors have a name for this phase, the overextension phase. Research shows that cortisol levels are measurably highest in this stage. The body is throwing everything at the problem. The adrenal glands are working overtime. They will not be able to do this indefinitely. Level 3, the numbness. You stop feeling stressed, and for a moment, you think you've turned a corner. You haven't. What's happened is that your HPA axis, that stress response system that was running so hard for so long, has started to lose its ability to calibrate. The cortisol output that was dangerously high begins to flatten. In clinical burnout research, this is called hypocortisolism. The system has been activated for so long that it is now underproducing. The alarm isn't off. It's exhausted. This is when the numbness arrives. The emotional flatness, the sense of going through the motions with a strange clinical detachment. You attend the meeting. You answer the email. You have the conversation. You perform all the expected shapes of a functioning person. But there's no signal underneath it. You stop caring about the job. You stop caring about the job, not as a choice, as a neurological event. Researchers at Frontiers in Neuroscience identified this stage as the transition point into clinical burnout, and specifically noted that it's marked by a shift from high cynicism to high emotional exhaustion. The cynicism comes first. The job stops meaning anything. Then comes the exhaustion. The body stops having anything left to give. The people around you may think you seem more even, less reactive, calmer. You are not calmer. You are depleted in a way that doesn't show on the outside. There's a specific kind of loneliness in this stage that's hard to articulate. You are surrounded by your normal life, your routines, your relationships, your responsibilities, and you feel entirely absent from it, present, watching, but not there. That feeling has a name, depersonalization, and it is one of the 3 clinical markers of burnout. Level 4, the collapse. It's not dramatic. There's no breakdown in a meeting, no cinematic moment of crisis. It's a Tuesday. You wake up and you cannot get out of bed. Not don't want to, cannot. The signal travels from your brain to your body, and something in the relay has stopped working. You lie there. You don't feel sad exactly. You don't feel anything exactly. You're just stuck. Or it's at work. Someone asks you a simple question and your mind goes completely blank. Not because you don't know the answer, because something has simply gone offline. You sit in the pause for too long and something on their face shifts, and you feel a distant wave of shame about it later. Or it's smaller than either of those. You start crying in the car for no identifiable reason. Not sobbing, just a quiet, persistent leaking. You let it happen. You haven't cried in 8 months. What's happening biologically is a near complete disruption of your stress response architecture. Your HPA axis output is now abnormally low. Your immune system, which cortisol normally keeps in check, has lost its regulator, which is why you've been catching every cold, every virus, every minor illness for the past several months. Your body's inflammatory response is running unchecked. The prefrontal cortex, which has been suppressed by months of elevated cortisol, is now also depleted. Executive function, planning, prioritizing, emotional regulation requires energy the brain no longer has. MRI studies published in 2025 have identified structural changes in the brains of people with clinical burnout, reduced gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex, amygdala hyperreactivity, and reduced connectivity in the default mode network. These are measurable on a scan. Your brain has physically changed. You are not weak. You are not failing. You are experiencing the end stage of a biological process that started quietly in the small, repeated choices and demands of an ordinary life months or possibly years ago. The system filed a report. This is what the report looks like. Level 5, the ghost period. This is the level most people never talk about. Not because it's the worst, because it's the hardest to name. You're still functioning. You go to work, you answer messages, you do the things. From the outside, you look fine. Maybe even finer than before, because the anxiety is gone, and the edge is gone, and you're softer now. And people sometimes say you seem more relaxed. You are a ghost wearing your own face. There's a specific neurological reason for this. Your cortisol's diurnal rhythm, the natural curve that should peak in the morning and fall through the day, has been disrupted. Research published in 2025 confirmed that burnout is a chronobiological disorder. The circadian system, which regulates energy, mood, sleep, and hormonal secretion, has been damaged by the sustained stress exposure. You sleep but don't feel rested. You wake up at 3 a.m. with nothing to think about and can't go back to sleep. Your mornings feel identical to your evenings. The natural architecture of the day, which is supposed to be shaped by biology, by cortisol and melatonin working in rhythm, is flat. You lose things. Your keys, your train of thought, your interest in things you used to love. You make plans and cancel them, not because you're anxious, because the activation energy required to do anything that isn't necessary feels impossible to locate. People ask if you're okay. You say yes, because it's the easiest answer, and also because you genuinely don't know how to describe what being not okay actually feels like, when it doesn't feel like anything. This is the level where people stay the longest. It doesn't hurt enough to be a crisis. It's just gray. And gray can last years if nobody names it. Consider this the naming.